So, today is Easter Sunday, and actually in a way, what we're celebrating today is the resurrection of Jesus. And what the resurrection of Jesus did was really start the history of Christianity. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about that, because I think if we reflect on the history of Christianity, we realize it was an incredibly difficult beginning. The history of Christianity really started with a lot of suffering among the young kind of Christian members that were trying to spread a new faith, and it became actually very much a religion of martyrdom. So a lot of Christians were forced to face the choice between either denouncing their religion or having to be sent to the lions or often killed in different ways. And we know this history, we know it's a very sad history, but something we often forget is actually, even outside of Christianity, it was a very brutal world that existed 2,000 years ago. So not just Christians were being killed and hunted, but many people were living very dangerous, difficult lives where one little mistake meant that their neighbor could take advantage of them, abuse them, report them to the police. It was a time of the gladiators in Rome. The world was very, very different from the world we have today. And I think it's very important to remember this, because it was very hard to live in that world. It was very hard to be happy. So in general, the world was pretty evil, and history was pretty evil. And so Christianity didn't just become a successful religion. It didn't just eventually get accepted within the first 400 years, and then everything was fine, right? Christianity became the state religion actually in around 492 under the emperor, but still there was a lot of evil in the world. And even within Christianity, there was a lot of fighting between the evil forces, people who wanted to use Christianity for selfish reasons, and people who genuinely believed in the message that Jesus taught. So the history of Christianity was this constant battle, where there was always a fight between people who were trying to use the faith of Christianity to gain more power, to gain more political power, to gain more territory, and genuine people who were trying to follow what they read in the Bible, and what they read to be Jesus' word, and this kind of new culture and new morality. So throughout history, you have this evolution and this development of morality, and this improvement of morality. And what you have in the modern world, what we think is moral today, or the society we live in, which I've said many times and I genuinely believe, is one of the most, the happiest and best times to be alive, right? If we compare this time of history to any other time in history, this time in history to any other time in history, even 30 years ago, even 50 years ago, especially 100 years ago, the world we live in is so much better. But there's still a lot of evil in the world. There's still a lot of things that go on that are unacceptable. But modern morality is very much Christ-based. And that's actually something that we should be aware of. We should be very actually proud of and understand and grateful for. And I think this is an important point, because oftentimes there's this trend, especially in secular society, when people want to be very materialistic. They're like, why do we need religion? Right? They say, I will make my own morality. Right? I can, I'll just be good. Right? I'll just be nice to people. As long as I don't hurt anyone, that's okay. Even those ideals, right, come actually out of the culture that they live in. Right? So they're borrowing that morality that they're pretending to make up. So it's a real problem with subjective morality, this idea that you can just decide what's moral, is that in reality you're kind of borrowing the morality you grew up in. You're borrowing the culture you grew up in. You're not really respecting the thousands of years it took for that moral standard to kind of be embedded into the society that you live in. So today, on Easter, when we think about what that means, it really means the standard of morality we have today, that took thousands of years, took so much sacrifice, not just Jesus' sacrifice, but the sacrifice of all those Christians who were saints and whose names we knew, but even the names we never know, right? Just the everyday Christians who are trying to practice their faith, trying to be nice to their neighbors, trying to take care of their family. So it's something we should be very thankful for. So just to conclude, what I thought would be good is to just reflect a little on some of the words Jesus used, some of the things Jesus taught during his life, that were actually at the time very, very revolutionary and kind of slowly started to change the course of history. So I have them on my phone. And when I was giving the lectures to the kids, the motto for this weekend's workshop was God's Easter egg hunt, which I thought was kind of cute. And the way I explained it to the kids was, what is God looking for, right? God is looking for pure children. God is, looking for people to love. And I was explaining that Jesus was the first pure child, right? That's kind of Jesus' title in a way. And so I gave everyone homework to read Jesus' words, right? Before next year. So they have a full year to do it. But I'm going to help them out a bit. One of the things I mentioned was the Beatitudes as kind of one of... And it wasn't just the Beatitudes. It was actually a very long speech. I think it's called the Sermon on the Mount or the Sermon on the Hill. It's a very long speech that goes into a lot of detail. And it kind of creates the framework for Christian morality. So I'll read the Beatitudes, and then I'll read one other section. And these kind of together really kind of define and help to define our modern world, actually. So, this is how Jesus starts. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and say all manner of evil against you falsely, for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. And those words really gave a lot of the early Christians strength when they were being persecuted and challenged. And then the last section. You have heard it that it has been said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you that ye resist not evil. But whoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if any man will sue thee at the law, and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. And whoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him 20. Give to him that asketh thee, and from him that would borrow of thee turn not thou away. Ye have heard it been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor, and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and the unjust. For if ye love them which love you, what reward have ye? does not everyone do the same? So that last one is really one of the loving thy enemy is one of the things Jesus taught that was so revolutionary and so different from almost any time in history. So in closing, just a reminder that Jesus' life was about sacrifice, but not just Jesus' life, but Christian history has been about that sacrifice and making that sacrifice change the way we live and make the world into a better world. Right? So the goal of Jesus and the goal of true Christians that really love Jesus and understood Jesus' heart has always been to make the world better, to make people better. And that should be our goal as well, right? To be better people and to make this world better. So that's my reflections on this Easter Sunday. And then I will pass it over to your directors, or what's your official titles, guys? Coordinators of the workshop.